It was the early 15th century, and France was embroiled in the Hundred Years' War against England. The French crown was on the brink of collapse, and the country was torn apart by both external enemies and internal division. The English had captured much of France, including the capital, Paris, and were threatening to take the rest of the kingdom. The French people, desperate for a savior, needed hope. In the small village of Domremy, in northeastern France, a young peasant girl named Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc, began to have vivid visions. At just 13 years old, Joan began hearing voices she believed were sent by saints. Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. These divine voices, she claimed, instructed her to help the Dauphin, Charles VII, claim his rightful throne and lead the French army to victory. At a time when women had no place in the military, Joan's visions were seen as a sign of madness by many. But Joan was unwavering. Driven by her belief in a divine mission, she convinced Charles VII, the heir to the French throne, to allow her to lead an army. In 1429, she was given armor and a banner bearing the image of Christ, and she set off to rally French troops. Joan's first major battle came at Uri-T, Orléans, a city that had been under siege by the English for months. The French army, demoralized and on the brink of defeat, saw Joan's arrival as a miracle. She wasn't just a leader in name, she led the charge herself. Under her command, the French forces launched a series of bold and decisive attacks, lifting the siege and securing a crucial victory. The victory at Orléans was a turning point in the war. It reinvigorated French morale and paved the way for the coronation of Charles VII as the King of France in Reims, an event Joan had foretold. Joan's presence and leadership symbolized the turning tide of the war, and she was hailed as a national hero. But her triumphs were short-lived. In 1430, after several more victories, Joan was captured by the English during a military campaign. She was handed over to the church and put on trial for charges of witchcraft, heresy, and cross-dressing. She wore men's clothing, a symbol of her role as a soldier. The trial was politically motivated, as the English saw Joan as a threat to their claim over France. Despite being interrogated and tortured, Joan never recanted her beliefs or her mission. She remained steadfast in her faith and her resolve. But on May 30th, 1431, at the age of 19, Joan was burned at the stake in Froid-Tréis, France. Her last words were a prayer to God. Years later, in 1456, a retrial cleared her name, and Joan was declared a martyr. In 1920, she was canonized as a saint by the Roman Catholic Church, and she became one of the most revered figures in both French and world history. Joan of Arc's legacy is one of courage, faith, and unwavering resolve. A peasant girl who rose to become a symbol of national pride, she fought not for personal gain, but for the future of her country.